saw it as Iowa fans and people covering Iowa. Saw Iowa struggle last week with Kent State. Now, Kent State is, I think, better than people think. I think Kent State will be right there at the end in the MAC. I think they're going to be right there. I thought Toledo would kind of be a favorite in the MAC, but now I'm kind of questioning that. But Kent State's a solid football team. I think their quarterback is probably best in the conference. But and I don't know if you caught any of that game, Kevin, but had Kent State not fumbled, I believe in the third quarter, I believe it was third quarter, it would have been a 2-point game. So there's no reason to think that Colorado State can't hang in this game. And like you said, they're playing with house money.
Yeah, I mean, we could go and list, a million examples of, surprises like that. And I'm sure Colorado State and probably every team that's a big underdog this week will probably be doing that because it happens. I mean, these are college football, Division I college football players. I mean, they all got here for a reason. They're certainly some level of talent. And if you kind of have a few things go right for you, have a few things go wrong for them, weird things happen. So yeah, absolutely, it can happen. I am curious to see if that Kent State game maybe locks Iowa in a little bit this week of, hey boys, we saw, what happened for a little bit last week. Let's make sure to put this one to bed early or what, those can go many different ways. But yeah, and crazy things happen. That's why this is one of the, most fun sports. And like you say, rankings, especially this year, they're all chaos and crazy anyway. I do think Iowa's really, really good, maybe one of those top teams, but it's also too early to know for sure about a lot of things.
And this, I think, will be interesting to follow this weekend. Of course, Iowa fans have been frustrated with the Iowa offense, and you're always going to find something to nitpick against. I think that's probably true with any fan base, but certainly at Iowa, I've experienced that my entire life, just listening to fans nitpick, and I do the same thing, and that's okay at times. The offense is a concern. You look at Iowa struggling getting the ball downfield. Certainly, they ran the ball better last week against Kent, but again, how much do we read into that, and how much is that related to the opponent? So as far as run defense is concerned for Colorado State, Iowa, obviously the typical Iowa offensive line, it's a bit of a shuffle right now. They're really playing 6 to 7 guys, which is kind of odd, although they did get Kyler Schott back on the interior last week. How does Colorado State match up against Tyler Goodson, who is certainly one of the best in the Big Ten? He was first team All Big Ten last year, certainly one of the best in the country. How does Colorado State deal with him?
The good thing for Colorado State is the best part of their defense is that front seven, and especially the defensive line. That's where their strength lies. Their weakness is in the secondary. They can be exposed in big pass plays. So they're in some ways somewhat fortunate that Iowa's, not exactly an air it out type of team. That said, I'm sure Iowa will look for opportunities because Colorado State can be very vulnerable there. So in that way, it's good. But on the flip side, in week one, South Dakota State, who has a couple potential pro guys on the O-line, kind of dominated the front unit there. So that's a worry to see how Colorado State will handle, a really talented front unit. So it is their strength, but boy, is it going to be tested. And then, the offense plays into it as well. If Colorado State's unable to move the ball at all and the defense on the field all day, we've seen how that goes, which is fatigue, keep wearing down, then, hit a couple big ones and a game can get away from you.
Mark Rogers himself, who must be checking in here, he says he's got Iowa number 1 in his rankings. Now, he ranks certainly based off a different criteria to what the AP voters do and the coaches. I think, and he's been very outspoken about how polls should be based off of resume, not on projections. I've been very outspoken about how I believe it's ridiculous that we have preseason polls because then they influence the rest of the polls. It makes no sense. And we do this year after year because I think it comes down to what people
click on them.
Absolutely. That's what it is. I mean, and I'm guilty of the same thing. I said to Mark, I think it was last week, that what's the first thing I do, Monday at noon? I check, whether it's basketball or football, I check the rankings, right? So, but Mark brings up an interesting point. Is there a team with a better resume as of right now? I think you could argue Georgia has as good or better of a resume, just given the fact that they knocked off Clemson, although Clemson nearly lost last week. There's a couple other teams. Penn State's looked good. They got a win against Wisconsin and now Auburn. Certainly, I think that they're right up there with Iowa. But as far as resume is concerned, Mark is absolutely right.